All right, good morning, everyone. We are starting the session right about now. I'm sorry for the slight delay starting today's session. I was also trying to get the people who are supposed to connect via the Zoom platform, but we're having a little hitch right there. So we are starting with the training right about now. Good morning and welcome to today's training. So, today we're looking at the reading test. The reading test is that aspect of the IELTS test that assesses or evaluates your ability to read information and provide answers from what you have read. The reading test comes with about 3 different sections, which usually comprise passages and other extracts and guided compositions that you must read and answer the questions. The reading test has 40 questions. Now, each question carries 1 mark. And then you are to read and answer your questions in 60 minutes. Now let's look at how the reading test works. In your reading test, you are being tested on your ability to read provided contents and information. And then you are being given questions, passages or information you've read to provide the accurate answers. Now, according to IELTS experts, the test is considered to be the easiest part of the IELTS test. Why is this so? This is simply because your reading test is considered to have the opportunity, or you as a test taker are considered to have the opportunity to read the contents or information or passages as many times as you can. And then the questions are drawn from the same passage that you have read. And you are expected to get your answers from the passage. Now, if you understand this, this is the major reason the examiners make IELTS reading test marking script very strict. The scheme is so high that if you score, for instance, if you score about 32 over 40 in your reading test, you observe that your band score might be within 6.0 or 6.5. But when you score 32 in listening test, you might be scoring around 7.0. So you notice that the same score, but higher band score in the listening, but a lower band score in the reading, because they find reading to be easy. You are able and free to read multiple times to get your answers. Unlike the listening test, where it is just like a flowing stream, once it flows past you, it's gone forever. Okay, it's not played twice, right? And you multitask when you are treating your listening test. So reading test is considered to be the easiest part of the listening test, of the IELTS test, pardon me. And because of this, your reading test, when you perform or score low in your reading test, it often tends to drop the overall band score by the time all other modules are put together. The reading test particularly often drop the overall band score. So you actually need to put in a lot of efforts, a lot of concentration, a lot of practice, a lot of mastery of how the reading test is done and how answers are hidden and also found. You need to work to improve on your reading speed and skills. So these are a few things you want to know about reading tests. Now, in reading tests, I must say that as a test taker, your chances of having an excellent score in your reading test is largely dependent on your habit as a person. What habit are we talking about here? We are referring to the habit of reading beforehand. Your reading culture has to be there before you go for a reading test. It's not something you begin to build once you register to sit the IELTS test. Okay? So it has to be something that you have inculcated, you have imbibed, you have established as a habit. That's when you would find it a little easy to actually treat. Okay? So, how do you work this out? You want to actually begin to read a lot of contents. And not just reading contents, you want to also time yourself when you're reading. Because if you read at your own convenience, if you read with very nonchalant attitude, no one is actually timing you, you have nothing to actually put yourself on any hot seat for, then you won't be able to do so well in reading test. A reading test requires you to put in a lot of efforts, both in building your reading skills, improving on your reading speed, and also understanding how to underscore or highlight or note keywords in the passages or information that you read. Reading test also gets better when you have built vocabularies over time. Because if you do not have good vocabulary bank, while reading, you will come across different words that may sound advanced or turgid. So if such words are strange to you, it will be a little difficult for you to actually read meaning or understand what meaning is, understand the meaning the author is trying to pass across. So you must also build the reading culture. Now, how do you build reading culture? You should do this, and you will do this, and you can do this not only by reading things that are in line with your profession. This will not help you in reading. You should read vast. You should read almost things that are treating or things that are derived from different areas of endeavors, different sectors, different professionalisms. Because you never can tell where your reading passage would come from. It may never be from your profession. So when you are so engrossed in your profession alone, you have built this passion for it. Therefore, nothing else matters to you. And then when you begin the IELTS reading test, you will find any passage that is not relating to your profession will become quite boring to you. You're going to lose lots of interest reading further what that actually means. So for you to do well in your reading test, you need to build reading culture. You need to begin to read different contents. Read newspapers, read marketing documents or information, read about health, read about transportation, read about information technology, innovations, read about culture, read about plants, animals, read about voyage, that's travels, journey, read about economy, politics, agriculture. Read fast. You have to go fast. Because you don't know, you can never know where your question or the passage would come from. To avoid losing interest very easily, you need to actually begin to have a little feel of what other fields are like. Then, to also improve on your reading test performance, You need to improve on the reading skills and techniques. Reading skills and techniques. There is a difference between reading for pleasure and reading for an examination. If you're reading for pleasure, ordinarily, you will take the whole of your time to read. If you're reading for pleasure, you might not really take certain words so seriously. You might overlook certain things because you have nothing to lose. If you're reading for pleasure, you will not want to cover a particular number of pages or within the shortest time possible, because you are not being examined or tested or being timed. So this becomes a habit, and then your reading pace becomes quite sluggish. But when you understand that there is a need to improve your speed of reading, you would understand that yes, I need to time myself whenever I get hold of any print. So you want to cover, maybe you want to read a novel that has about 400 pages in 1 week or in 2 weeks maximum. You want to read a particular textbook, you have given yourself the time frame to complete that particular print. This would help you to improve on your reading speed. Furthermore, to get better at reading, you also want to read not only by looking, you also want to read using highlighting pen or using your pencil to underline or circle or identify anything you feel should be looked into for proper understanding. So, when you are reading, you have your highlighting pen or you have your pencil. As you read and come across any part of the content, any part of the print that you're not so sure about or you're not conversant with, all you need to do is highlight it. All you need to do is earmark or make some form of dog ears around the page. Highlight that particular part that you are not very conversant with. Quickly use the dictionary or use your Google. Look up, find out what it means, and then you read meaning into what you are reading. With this, two things will be achieved. One, you have understood what the message is all about. Two, you have built an additional vocabulary. Once you deliberately and intentionally look up a particular word on the dictionary, you would know that yes, this word is not something I'm familiar with. I want to know what it means. And once you find out what it means, don't stop at that. You also need to find out how to use that word to construct a written sentence and how to use that word to make spoken expression, because they are two different things. When you use a word to express yourself in writing, it is formal in most cases. But if you use a word to express yourself in a spoken English, you may find out that it is informal, yet it's formal. It is informal, yet it is formal. Let me give you an instance. When you say to your president, Mr. President, good morning. Yes, I got your email. I'm very confident I will be there. Right? I would make my schedule in a way that it would fit into what you have invited me for. I assure you, Mr. President, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there in a spoken English sounds formal. But when you're writing it, you cannot write, I'm going to be there. That would be like a slang. It would be like an informal expression. But while you're speaking it, it is formal. I'm going to be there. Okay? So, when you find a word, look for what it means, find out what it means. When you get to know what it means, try to use it to express yourself in writing formally. and also understand how to apply it in your spoken English. When this happens on and on and on, you find out that you are improving on your vocabularies and you are also getting better at other reading techniques. So today, we are going to look at the reading test. It is a big hassle for a number of test takers. They always find it a little difficult to complete their reading test. They will say to you, they didn't give us enough time. There was no such thing. You were given adequate time. You were given the same amount of time that you're supposed to be given. You were allowed to read and answer your questions for 60 minutes. 1 hour. But the thing is, because you have not imbibed, you have not built or developed, you have not inculcated the habit of reading at very fast pace, you feel the time is faster than normal. You feel the time is short. It is never short. It's because you were reading as a slow reader. Okay? So let's look at what we're going to do today. Let's see how we can improve a little bit, and then we need to get better as we make it a habit. So right here on the board, we have reading test, and we have provided important keys which will help you to read and also have a better experience and performance in your reading. So these reading important keys is what we call the 3 T's. These 3 T's are trick, also known as the bracket trick. Then we have the tips, and lastly we have the techniques. Now let's look at the trick for a start. The trick, which is also called the bracket trick, how does it work? It is more of the practice of putting a part of your answer that you're not sure about in bracket. Putting a part of your answer that you found, but you're not so sure if that particular part of the answer should be there. What you do is, you put it in bracket. As long as you are leaving the main answer that you are 101% sure that yes, this I'm very sure this one is needed. But this one, I'm not too sure. Then let me just put it in bracket in case it's needed. That's what the bracket trick is all about. The bracket trick is so important in IELTS that it places you safe. It doesn't affect you in any way. Rather, it helps you to stay safe. Now let's understand how to apply it in the reading test. The application of the bracket trick must always work strictly in accordance to the instructions. Remember, it is very key. It is essential that you read instruction before starting any section. Please, don't assume. Don't use the knowledge of your previous examinations to write IELTS. It doesn't work. For every section you are treating, there are stipulated and specified instructions that will help you to actually treat that particular part correctly. If you assume, if you work or take on a particular section by assumption, you would end up maybe having 70% of your answers to be incorrect. Right? So, now let's understand how these questions work. Here, for you to accurately apply the bracket trick, you must read the instruction and interpret the instruction correctly. So let's look at this instruction. It says, no more than 2 words and or a number. No more than 2 words and or a number. What does this mean? If you come across a section that has this instruction, no more than 2 words and or a number, how would you interpret this instruction? Because the accuracies of your answer largely depends on the instruction at that section. If you find this instruction, no more than 2 words and or a number, what it simply means is your answer can be 1 word Your answer can be one word and a number. Your answer can be two words. It can also be two words and a number. Then lastly, it can be just a number without a word. This is what this instruction means. No more than two words and or a number. The emphasis right here is that do not write beyond two words, but it could fall between 1 to 2, but don't exceed 2. Alright, so if you are able to interpret this instruction correctly, what you have to do is you now go to your passage and read. Now when you find your answer, how can you apply the bracket trick? Let's assume you just found an answer and it says building sites. Building sites. Now that's a two-word answer, and that's exactly what the instruction accommodates, 2 words. But that does not mean building and sites are 101% necessary to be there. So what you need to do, you want to find out which word is more important. Which word right here is my major or primary answer? Of course, it depends on the question. Now, sites is a particular environment for a particular activity. Now, it might be asking you where people who are being paid on a daily go to. Where do they go to? They go to the sites. Right? So this is the primary answer right here. They go to the sites and they work. And at the end of the day, they are given their wage or wages. So at this point, I'm going to leave this guy as my major answer. Now, building is more like a descriptive adjective. It is describing the particular type of site that is being referred to. Alright? So right here, building would be in bracket, while the sites will be left open. So now, first and foremost, did I write in accordance to the instruction? Yes. But should I leave the 2 words open? Am I very perfect? No. You may not be very perfect. Alright? But if I'm to apply the bracket trick, how do I know the right one to apply? How do I know the right word to put in bracket? You have to look at the question and know what the question is pointing at or what the question is looking for. If the question is looking for the location, then it is a site. If the question is looking for the particular site, then it is a building site. It is possible there are different types of sites. There may be the sites for exercise. There may be sites for milling. There may be sites for turbine. There may be sites for tourism. It could be anything. But you have to look at the question to know exactly what you are required to consider as your primary answer. So, if this is the primary answer, please do not put it in bracket. Leave your answer open. If you put it in bracket, it would simply mean that you have no answer. Right? So you only put in bracket word or words that is or that are the supporting word to the primary answer that you have left open. Okay? So building is my supporting word. So I'm going to leave it in bracket. While site is my main answer and I'm leaving it open. Now this is what happens when the examiner begins to mark your script. If the examiner looks at your answers, the examiner looks at the instruction, examiner confirms that yes, you didn't go beyond the stipulated number of words. You are still in consonance with the instruction. Now, examiner comes back to your answer and like, okay, what I need right here is only sites. I don't need building. So the examiner, the answer to the question requires just one word. Can you see this? So examiner needs just one word. So examiner comes back here. Actually, he wrote 2 words, or she wrote 2 words, but then the main one-word answer is open. This supporting word, which made the second word, is in bracket. That means it is optional. Okay? So I'm not going to look at these words. I'm just going to focus on this guy. And this is the correct answer. So this test taker is correct. Examiner wants just one word. And the instruction says no more than 2 words. As a test taker, you might feel that I wrote 2 words though. And now I'm incorrect. The examiner failed that particular answer. You didn't put it in bracket, you just wrote 2 words. Of course, the answer is going to be wrong. Because what the IELTS body have set out to be the answer is just a 1-word answer. And you wrote 2 words because you saw no more than 2 words. It doesn't work that way. So you want to use the bracketry to play safe. So right here, building is in bracket, sites is left open. So examiner is going to mark you correct. Now, if you didn't apply the bracket trick, and the correct answer is building sites, you are perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. If the answer is sites, and you wrote building sites, no brackets, this answer will be incorrect. Even if it says 2 words and the answer is sites. There is no such thing as half a mark. It's either it's correct or incorrect. Okay? So, to apply your bracket trick, you must find out which word is the main answer and which word is my supporting answer. So your main answer should not be put in bracket. Your main answer should be left open. The supporting words should be put in bracket. So let me also show you something. Some people might want to play smart, right? I trust a lot of test takers, especially having paid a lot of money to get registered for this exam, and you're now learning about the bracket trick. Some person might say, oh wow, so there is a way out of these, and you want to now apply the bracket trick, and you're putting this guy in bracket, this guy in bracket. And anyone the examiner wants, let him pick or let her pick. Whichever one, I have the word there, and it's no more than 2 words. So I have my 2 correct answers. So if the examiner wants this one, pick. You don't want this one, go for the other one. At this point, there is no answer there. When you do that, on that particular question, there is no answer. Because you have put all your answers in brackets. It's not the job of the examiner to choose the correct answer for you as a test taker. You must indicate which word you want to be considered as your most preferred answer. So at this point, please don't do this. It will annul, it means there is no answer here at all. Now let's assume you wrote building sites and you left your sites in bracket, and then the correct answer happens to be just 1 word, and that's sites. But now the site is in bracket. Automatically, your answer is incorrect. Because you left the word that's supposed to be a supporting word, you left it open. And the word that's supposed to be the main answer, you placed in bracket. So you are making it's not necessary. That one in bracket is not very necessary. Just go with the one I left open. That's my main answer. And of course, it's incorrect. Okay? So please, always identify the one that is your main answer and leave the supporting answer in bracket. So this is the way to work around no more than 2 words and or a number. Okay? If it requires number, this is how it comes to. perhaps you can have 15 building sites. 15 building sites. Now here, you have number, 2 words, right? So this conforms to what the instruction has spelled out. So to apply the bracket trick, you can see how this guy in bracket, you can see how this guy in bracket, and leave your main answer open. Okay? But please do not make the mistake of putting 2 different answers in one bracket. Do not make that mistake. If you put 2 words or 2 answers in one bracket, it simply means there is no answer. Alright? So please always ensure to apply the bracket trick correctly. Right? And then when it says no more than 2 words, do not say I want to do this, the building sites, and you put this one in bracket and now say, okay, these are my main answer. I just put this in case you need it. If you put this on the ground of in case, this guy right here has annulled every other thing you have written because you have written beyond 2 words. You have 1, 2, 3. The instruction says 2. Bracket trick does not make a word invisible. No, it doesn't make a word to be invisible. So the word still counts. So you only apply the bracket trick correctly when you are following the instructions. Please, do you understand? Now at this point, this is a 3-word answer. So if the instruction says no more than 3 words and or a number, no more than 3 words and or a number, then this is perfect. The building sites is very perfect. So what do you do and how do you apply the bracket trick? It's very simple. You also need to identify which of the words is my most preferred answer, which is my main answer right there. So at this point, sites, we are still retaining sites as the main answer. Alright? So if sites is our main answer, please do not put it in brackets. So you can put other supporting words in separate brackets. In separate brackets. You can see that each word there is in its own bracket. I only left sites open. So by doing this, examiner will definitely understand that yes, sites right here is my main answer. But these other guys, this is an article, this is an adjective. So this is making it quite specific, the building sites. While this building is actually describing the type of sites being talked about. So when you do this, you are leaving these words as options. They are optional, but this is my primary answer. So if the examiner actually says no more than 3, or the instruction actually says no more than 3 words and or a number, it doesn't mean that you must write 3 words all through. As a matter of fact, here is the interpretation, here is the translation of that instruction. No more than 3 words and a number means your answer can come even as a word, a single word, and it's perfect. Your answer can be 1 word and a number, that's perfect. Your answer can also be 2 words, okay? It could also be 2 words and a number, that's all you need. Then your answer can as well be 3 words. It can be 3 words and a number. Then it could also be a number without a word. This is the interpretation of an instruction that says no more than 3 words and or a number. So please do not say because the instruction says 3 words and you're busy writing 3 words under that particular section. what you're doing is that indirectly, you are leaving about 70% of your answers to be incorrect. Right? Because of misinterpretation of the instruction. It says no more, no more. It doesn't mean you must write up to 3 words. No. Okay? It's only emphasizing that don't exceed, don't go beyond 3 words. But of course, it could fall between 1 word to 3 words maximum. So in this case, here is a typical example of no more than 3 words and or a number. So what you're doing is you identify which words are the supporting words and which word is my main answer. So when you find that out, put the supporting words in separate brackets. Please don't put the 2 words in one bracket. I've said that before. So put them in separate brackets and then leave your main answer open. So when this happens, if the examiner, if IELTS have actually identified their main answer and what they want is only sides, because these 2 other words, supporting words, are in brackets, they will be ignored and you are marked to be correct. If what the IELTS body wants is building sites without they, this word they would be ignored and building sites will be acknowledged and you are correct. Then if the IELTS body wants the building sites as your compulsory answers, then all the 3 words right here will be acknowledged and you are perfect. If you have started engaging in reading tests, in IELTS practices, whether the listening test or the reading test, you must have observed that at some point when you are scoring or marking or evaluating your answers, you may have noticed that some answers on the IELTS page has some of the words in bracket. What that meant, or what that means, is that from the answer you've written, if your answer included the one in bracket, perfect, you are correct. If it doesn't have the one in bracket, perfect, you are also correct. As long as out of the words written, you have the primary answer that is provided on that answer space. So if you wrote only sides and you didn't write these 2, IELTS says you are correct. If you wrote building sites without the, IELTS says you are correct because they are just optional. Right? So please, begin to apply the bracket trick properly. Don't try to play smart by putting every word you see in brackets. You will just end up shooting yourself in the foot. Okay? Alright, so this is how to apply the bracket trick when you are carrying out your reading test. Let's proceed very quickly to tips. Now let's look at the tips. Okay, now let's look at these. Here we have 2 tips that I would like us to talk about very quickly. The first tip right here says, read the instruction for each section correctly and carefully before attempting any question. Read the instruction for any section carefully and correctly before attempting any question. What does this mean? It simply means for you to begin any section, you should try as much as possible to read instruction. Now, why is it important to read instruction before you begin. 1. Written instruction will help you to know if your answer should come in A, B, or C, or D. If you have to select or choose A, B, C, D alphabets. Some persons, while taking on their practices, instead of writing A, B, C, D, they will end up copying the words written against A. Once you do that, it is automatic failure, because examiners do not have the time to go back to your question on the question paper to verify what the words you have written represents. Okay? Examiners will not have that time because they have pile up of answer questions to mark. So if what they have written out is A, B, C, D, they expect you to also show A, B, C, D. Right? So instruction will help you to know that my answer should come in A, B, C, D, and not to write out words. Instruction will also help you to know how many words your answer should come. If it should come in 1 word, or in 2 words, or in 3 words. It is important to note this, so that you don't end up writing more than the stipulated number of words that your answer should come. Okay? Instruction will also help you to know if your answer should come in the Roman numerals. Right? There are sections that you'll be required to write your answers in I, V, VI, and all that. So it is important to read the instructions. Instruction will also help you to know if you are treating different topics. It is instruction that will help you to identify the topic that section is treating. For instance, instruction will help you to know whether that particular section you are working on is to cover sentence completion. So at that point, you are just to provide either 1 word or 2 words that will fill in the blanks. Right? So please read the instruction. And if you read the instruction and you are able to, maybe you have mastered the skills of the different ways or approaches to treating different topics, it will also help your time management. And it would assure you of the accuracy of your answers. More so, reading instructions will help you to know if you are to match headings to paragraphs. Instruction will also help you to know if your answer should come in true, false, or not given, or yes, no, or not given. Right? It is instruction that will help you to note these. Instruction will help you to know if your answer is what we call summary answer or short answers. If it is locating or identifying information, instructions will help you. Then, most importantly, instruction will help you to know if 1 paragraph can solve 2 questions. Now, for this to play out, always read instructions. If you find out something like this, please note that it is possible to find 2 answers in 1 paragraph. Okay. So whenever you read an instruction and it says NB, note before, you may use any letter more than once. What does this mean? Please prepare your mind. 2 answers or more than 2 answers can come from 2 different paragraphs. It simply means a paragraph will solve more than 1 question. Whenever it says you may use any letter more than once, this should make you prepare your mind that you will find 2 answers in 1 paragraph. But if it doesn't say or indicate this, what it means is that when you find an answer in a particular question or paragraph, it is solved. You won't find another answer in that same paragraph. If a paragraph is to solve two different questions, this particular note will be established. Please be careful and look out for this guy when you are reading. Now let's proceed. Let's go to this guy, the second tip right here. This second tip says Q's plus P plus Q equal A. What does that mean? Q's mean questions. Questions. P means passage. Passage. Another Q right here means question. Remember the first Q's here is questions, plural, right? Then the second Q right here, question, just singular. Then A simply means answer. Now, what does this particular formula mean? It simply means your reading exercise should go by the approach of reading the questions under the particular section you are treating. Read the questions first. So you read the questions to know what you are to read for, to know what you are to search for while reading. So you have to read questions. But there is something you should know. When you are reading questions under a particular section, do not read questions more than once. Read each question only once. And the reason you should read once is so you would identify the keywords in each question. Because that's what, or those are what the passage would paraphrase. Right? So when you read each question, use your pencil, or if you're doing computer-based tests, use your highlighting skill. Highlight the keywords in each question. The keywords in each question. Okay? So when you read each question and highlight each keyword, you are ready. By the time you are putting personal effort to highlight, the brain will find that particular word important and the brain will pick it up. Alright? But if you read a question more than once, the brain would not need your permission. The brain would simply pick interest in that particular question. Now, when you go to read a passage, the brain will be very much interested in that particular question it has picked interest in. So whatever you're reading will be primarily meant to get the answer to this question which the brain has picked interest in. That means for you to get any other answer, you need to go back to the passage to read. And in reading test, you don't have that time. So read only once, identify the keywords in each question, then you go to the passage. So when you begin to read a passage, of course, your mind will prick you to the fact that, oh yes, I saw something about this information in the passage. One of those words I underlined is actually referring to this. So that means you have realized that this information is referring to the particular word or words you have underlined at the question section. So what you do at that point is use your pencil, rule under the whole of that part. The whole of that information that refers back to the keywords you have read in the question. Right? So you keep doing that as you read and find things that relate or that are referring to the questions or keywords in the questions. Use your pencil, your highlighting function on your system to highlight those areas or information. Alright? So as you keep reading very quickly and you're highlighting, once you're done, now go back to the questions. But this time around, you are taking the question, one question at a go. So read question 1, then you go back to the passage and scan through those highlighted areas, then you find your answer to that particular question. You read the second question, go back to the passage, check through those highlighted spots to find your answer. So when you do that, you don't need to read the passage anymore. So you're just scanning, on those areas you highlighted. So it will help you to manage your time and also find your answers quickly. Remember, passages are usually lengthy. They are quite long, right? So you want to look for ways to reduce the practice of reading over and over just to find an answer. So this is one way to go. All right? So let's proceed. Let's go straight to techniques. So for techniques, okay, so let's look at techniques. Techniques in the reading test. Things you need to consider. Approaches you need to bring in when treating your reading test. The first thing right there is paraphrase. What is paraphrasing? What does it mean? Paraphrasing is a reading technique of restating an information. Is a reading technique of using synonyms or substitute words or expressions to rephrase or replicate an information in a way that it will still mean the same thing. There won't be any loss. All right? No value will be missing. No part of the information will be missing. All right? And you are not also bringing in things that are not in the original information. That's what paraphrasing means. A practice of restating an information using synonyms or phrases that still retain the original meaning. Right? So in the reading test, paraphrasing moves from words to figures. It can also move from figures to words. It can move from words or figures to fractions or percentages. It can also move from words or figures to general terminologies. Okay, so these are different ways things can be paraphrased. Now, what is paraphrasing actually doing in reading tests? The paraphrasing you're going to experience in reading tests is such that you would read questions and underline or identify or highlight the keywords in the question. And when you go to the passage to read, you realize that the words in the question are not actually the words you're seeing in the passage. At some point, you begin to feel that the answers are not there. Now, the answers are right there staring at you in the eyes, but the thing is, you are not aware or you are unable to realize that paraphrasing has taken place. So, when you read words, when you read the questions, and you realize that, okay, I can see this word right here, then you go to the passage to read the question, you are realizing or you are getting to see that this information here is actually referring to that word there. So this information must have been expressed using synonyms, using substitute words that still translate to the words used in the question section. Right? So that's paraphrasing. So there are situations such as words being paraphrased to figures. For instance, you have half an hour. Half an hour can be paraphrased to words as 30 minutes. So someone who is not familiar with paraphrasing will be looking for half an hour in a passage after reading the question, but you will never see it. What you're going to see will be 30 minutes. This is figure. Okay? So please, prepare your minds. Don't expect the questions to be asked using the same words used in the passage. That will be quite easy. So your intelligence and exposure are not actually being put to test professionally. So they're going to test you by checking to see how you can actually put 1 and 2 together to arrive at a particular logical information or conclusion. Right? Now, it could also be figures being paraphrased to words. So when you have 100 cents, for instance, this can be paraphrased to $1. So when you see 100 cents, maybe at the question section, and you go to the passage, instead of seeing 100 cents, and instead of seeing anything that has to do with cents, you are now seeing $1. What's $1? $1 simply means 100 cents. That's the paraphrase of this same information, right? So you need to understand that paraphrasing such as this will always play out, right? So prepare your minds for it. That will help you to manage your time. You won't have to start racking your head to think of how this came about and how to put this and this together to arrive at this. No, it is simple. Paraphrasing has taken place, right? Then words or figures to fractions or percentage. Of course, when you have a quarter, this can be paraphrased to fraction as 1/4. Right? Prepare your mind for it. So it could also be written in the word version. 1/4 of blah blah blah. That means a quarter of blah blah blah. The same thing. So don't expect the same words you have read in the passage to be used at the question section. It's not possible. So prepare your minds. When you see half of an entire, prepare your mind for it. This can be paraphrased as 1/2 or 2/4. It means the same as this. When you go to percentage, a quarter is 25%. So when you read something about a quarter and at the question section you are seeing 25%, don't go searching for 25% at the passage. You will not see it. You will never see 25%. You might see a quarter. It simply means 25%. Right? Same thing applies right here. When you see half of an entire, it could be expressed in fraction this way. It could also be expressed as a percentage, and you're going to see 50%. So do not think there is no answer. It is there. Alright, so these are possible ways your paraphrasing can go. Just open your mind. Prepare as much as possible. Practice vast. Practice wide. You will notice some of these paraphrases and you begin to get used to them. Right? So that it doesn't come out weird or strange to you. Right? So let's go to the last part right here. Paraphrasing words or figures to general terminologies. So we have things such as this. Okay, now let's look at what we have right here on the board. I would want to engage us. Let's see how we are able to actually follow this. If you're viewing right from the YouTube platform, please help to just click on the like button. Kindly like this video that's going on. Right? It will help the YouTube to share or recommend it to people. I would also want you to please subscribe if you have not subscribed to our channel. Then, coming back here, let's see what you can do. Give me substitute ways of expressing this information. Can you drop some answers to this on the comment section? Right? Let's see what you can do, please. Every day. How can every day be paraphrased? How can every day be paraphrased? How can we paraphrase every day? How can we paraphrase every day? You might be reading a passage. You would notice that every day is used. Now, when the question is to be asked within about that particular part that has every day, the word every day may never be used at all. So, what do you need to expect as a paraphrase for every day? Same thing, when you go to every week, how else can we express every week? How else can we express that? Please, I would like to see what you have on the comments section. Right? So let's see. Then every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. So let's start with every day. Every day can be expressed as daily, or some people say 24 hours. Oops. "24 hours. Every week, it could be weekly, or every 7 days. Every 2 weeks, it could be bi-weekly, or fortnight. Every month, let's say monthly, or every 4 weeks. Every 3 months, we are talking about quarterly. Every 6 months, we are talking about biannually. Every year, we are talking about yearly or annually. Every 2 years simply means biannually. Nearly 25, we are talking about 2 dozens. 20 persons can be expressed as a score of individuals. 10 years, we are referring to a decade. 100 years, a century. 1,000 years, a millennium. 25 years anniversary, people celebrate Silver Jubilee. 50 years anniversary, we celebrate Golden Jubilee. Okay, these are different ways of expressing those information on the board. These are different ways they can be paraphrased. So please have them and add them to your vocabulary bank, and also pick them up and use both in your written English as well as the spoken English. They will be of help to you. All right, I'll give us 30 more seconds, then I'll clean the board in case you're taking notes. Okay, now let's go to skimming. Skimming is a fast reading technique. A fast reading technique that you need to apply when you're treating your reading test. Right? Now, let's understand for the purpose of note taking that skimming is the practice of reading an information very quickly with the aims of completing your reading on time and also having a grasp of what has been read. It is a reading technique of quickly going through an information with the aims of motives or purposes of completing your reading on time and also having a grasp of what has been read. That's what you need to be able to complete your reading test within the time allotted for it. Now, when you're reading in between lines at very fast pace, underlining is the next major technique you must apply. You should underline. So what does underlining mean? It is a reading technique or a practice of ruling under words. Ruling under words or phrases or sentences that you find to be potential answers to questions. So remember, I said read the questions before you begin. So when you're reading questions, you are highlighting or underlining words that you feel are the key words. So when you underline those words and go to the passage, as you read the passage, you will find information that refer or relate to those keywords at the question section that you underlined. So when you find such information, please also underline them at the passage section, because they are the potential answers when you go back to the questions. Alright, when you want to get your answer, those underlined areas will help you to get your answers faster. Now, scanning. After reading and underlining things or information which you feel to be the potential answers to questions, when you go back to now answer the questions, each question you read, you now need to scan. You need to scan. You don't need to start reading again or skimming. No, you need to scan to get your answers. So what does scanning means? Scanning is actually a reading technique of searching or spotlighting through an information. Scanning is a reading technique of searching or spotlighting through an information in order to locate where the answers are or where information are located or placed. So in scanning, you do not read to understand. No, you don't. You only read to find where particular information is situated. For instance, after skimming and underlining, now when you need to go to get your answers, you're like, I saw it somewhere, that's it. That's scanning. So you're not reading to actually understand, you are reading to locate where an information is. Okay? Now let's look at jotting, labeling, or making notes. Jotting, labeling, or making notes are reading techniques that help you to give tags, captions, titles, themes, or headings to paragraphs read based on your understanding. Okay? Jotting, labeling, or making notes are reading techniques that help you to give titles, captions, tags, themes, or headings to paragraphs read based on your understanding of each paragraph. So when you read a paragraph, you must conclude that this paragraph is actually trying to talk about this. So you are saying that, and when you have a little, or when you have an idea of what that particular paragraph is talking about, give it just short caption. Easiest way of making money. Fastest means of transport. That's what you feel this particular paragraph is talking about. The modern innovation. That's what you feel this particular paragraph is talking about. So you give captions or headings or titles to paragraphs based on your understanding. Now it is, these guys, jotting, labeling, or making notes are quite important because when you go to treat matching headings, for instance, once you have given tags to paragraphs, it will be easier for you to now say, okay, after giving tags to this paragraph, when you go to the headings, you realize that this heading means this it's the same thing as what I give to it, so it's easier for you to now match it, right? But if you don't apply the jotting, labeling, or making notes, once you have completed reading the paragraphs, when you go to the headings, you will need to start scanning through again, to look for the information. But if you had already given captions to them, it is easier for you to quickly match. Now lastly, we have ruling out or crossing out. Ruling out or crossing out. What does this mean? These techniques are what we call the time management techniques. They are your time management techniques that help you to manage your time and also reduce your areas of search for answers. They are your time management techniques that help you to manage your time and also reduce your areas of search for answers. So how does that work? When you read paragraphs, let's assume that from here to here is one paragraph, from here to here is another paragraph, from here to here is another paragraph, and then this is the last paragraph. So after reading the paragraphs, maybe this paragraph is labeled A, B, C, and D. So after reading all the paragraphs, you then go to the questions to get your answers. maybe you read question A, you come to this paragraph. When you scan through these paragraphs and your answer is not there, you need to come over here. If you don't find your answer, you come here. If you find your answer, you go and write C. Now the next question, you want to scan again to get your answer. If you scan through this guy, you don't find your answer. You scan through this guy, if you don't find your answer, you may have to scan through this guy to find your answer. If it's not there, you come here and then write D. Now, importance of ruling or crossing out is that the first answer came from C. So when I'm reading the next question, when I'm reading to find the answer to the next question, as long as there is nothing that says NB, you may use a letter more than once. If there is no such instruction, this C that has solved my first question is done and dusted. I don't have to waste my time scanning through it anymore. So, if I get my answer from here, to apply the ruling or crossing out, I'm going to use my pencil and simply cross out. This would give me the indication that this guy is taking. It's of no use anymore at this point. Right? So when I'm searching for my next answer, if I scan through this guy and I didn't find the answer, if this guy does not give me an answer, I won't come over here to scan anymore. So I will skip it and come over here. So I've saved my time and then I've stepped down to get my answer. So when I find the answer here, I'm going to also apply the same crossing out to this particular paragraph. Now doing this is reducing the places I should search for my answer. So when I'm going for the next answer, I have these two paragraphs to look for the answers. If I find it here, good. So I also cross out, and I know I'm left with one more paragraph. So they are the reading techniques that help us to manage our time and also reduce our areas of search for answers. So these are the 3 T's you really want to apply when you are treating your reading test. Please apply them meticulously, apply them judiciously, apply them when necessary. Don't ignore these 3 T's. They will help you a lot during your reading test. Okay, so this is where we're going to end it today. Please subscribe to our channel. Feel free to share this with your friends, with your colleagues who are actually looking for where they would get IELTS preparatory classes. Let them know that, of course, they could just watch our live trainings and they are good. Apply what we teach, practice intensively, and I can assure you, you are fine to get into your test venue and sit and issue IELTS test in one sitting. Thank you so much for today. We shall continue tomorrow, and by tomorrow we shall look at the different topics that you actually take on during your reading test. So see you again tomorrow, same time. Bye.